Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends. Welcome to JCB Live. Bienvenue to our very Napa Valley happy hour. Dear friends, we're going to be enjoying this amazing time with a very famous, charismatic, charming, intelligent lady, one of the key leaders of Napa Valley, who is leading one of the most exciting winery named Supery Vineyards in the heart of Napa, of course. She's been so active in the Napa Valley as she served with Francis Ford Coppola and Sebastiani and many other phenomenal wineries. Today, she runs Saint-Supery, but she's so interesting as one of the key leading women in the world of wine that we had to have this conversation with her about all the great topics. That includes everything as a great leader you can think she represents. She's been on the board of the Wine Market Council, on the Land Trust of Napa Valley, and of course, the Napa Valley Vintners. So there's no one better to represent those great times and the great leadership of ladies in the wine world than the charming, beautiful, and irresistible Emma Swain. So Emma, are you ready to come on?
Absolutely. Thank you, John Charles, for that very elegant introduction. It's a pleasure to see you, particularly with bubbles.
Well, I'm going to have a toast to you, and we should have a toast via the screen. I know it's very unusual because we typically are always together, and yeah. I'm very honored to count you as one of our very close friends. And such an amazing leader in the world of wine. So, Emma, let's start with you. Why wine and how did it start? Because I haven't said it, but you are as well a CPA, which means a very special woman with great financial credential. So how does that happen to become in the wine world and such a leader in it?
Well, I don't think I've ever told you this story, but when I was 17, my father drove me up to UC Davis to go look for an apartment together for my first year at Davis. And on our way back, we saw a sign for Buena Vista Winery. And my dad and I went to Buena Vista. And of course, it was before you owned it, so there was not a problem with me being served as an underage person. But we had a tour of Buena Vista, my very first winery that I ever visited. And we had a fantastic visit. And then I went off to Davis, and I had so many wonderful trips to Napa Valley and so many friends in the wine and viticulture enology programs at Davis. And I studied a lot of biology and microbiology and ag economics that I thought, one day I'm going to live in this beautiful place. And here we are.
Well, this is amazing. I did not know this story, and it's a very similar story to mine as far as my engagement to California as I visited. Similar to you, Buena Vista, when I was 11 years old. So we're very close in age in that sense.
We are, yes. I won't mention that we're close in months, maybe a year.
And you really a decade much younger than I am, so I'm delighted to be with another young lady today.
Very happy.
So, Emma, what was the wine that really made you think, I want to be in the wine world?
Oh, well, I think it was the Chateau Montelena 1976 Cabernet Sauvignon that I had with my father right after I graduated from college. I came home and he had some in his cellar. They were living in Saratoga. And I came home and I thought, this is one of the most delicious wines I've ever had. And
that's fantastic. And the judgment of Paris wine. So what's better, right?
Yeah.
The wine that puts America on the map very quickly.
Yeah, it was a really great wine, really beautiful. And I had the pleasure of drinking the 79s and 76 and 77 with my dad quite regularly when I came home from college. For some unknown reason, he bought a lot of it, and he didn't know a lot about wine when he moved to California, but he definitely had friends telling him what to buy and what to buy correctly.
So, young lady, you do UC Davis, you graduate, and then you enter the wine world. How was it, and how has it been as a lady to lead such a path in the wine world, which used to be less today, thank God, but much more masculine than it is?
You know, I've never really thought about the masculine feminine thing so much. I went and worked in public accounting first, and I definitely did there. I definitely felt the difference because there weren't any female leaders at all. Well, maybe one or two in the manager level. And so that I really noticed it because there were very few women, and it was clear that we were more of a second-class citizen in that area. And when I entered the wine world, I worked for John Scuppney, who's a great man, and Scott McLeod, who taught me a lot about wine. And I never felt like, oh, they treat me differently, or I never felt treated differently by any of the great people that I've worked for in the wine business. You notice that there's fewer ladies, but I grew up with 3 older brothers, and it just didn't really occur to me to focus on that at all. I just put my head down and I worked really hard, and I enjoyed everything that I did. I enjoyed learning about viticulture, walking through the vineyard, going through the cellar, tasting wines, meeting new people, pouring wine for them. I love everything that we do in the wine business. And I just worked really hard, and I worked for nice, kind people. And I think that's the most important thing, to work for people who believe in you, not whether you're male or female, or, you know, what religion you are, or anything else.
Yeah, so it's much more the attitude and the style of the personality that makes it rather than really the gender, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, along the way, of course, there's always things, but, you know, usually I try to respond with, you didn't really mean to say that, did you? And people recognize that, oh, it shouldn't have really come out that way.
Yes.
So there's you know, all of us put our foot in our mouth every now and then. And so it's always best to give people the opportunity to acknowledge that maybe they didn't mean that.
That's right. That's right. And growing with 3 older brothers, I think you were as well very groomed into the world in general, I would imagine.
Yes, I was younger by 4 years from my oldest brother. And so I was always, you know, trying to catch up my whole life, trying to catch up with the boys.
Well, I really believe, and this is why I think we should taste one of your fabulous wines. Women have a very strong natural talent in wine tastings. Wouldn't you say so?
Well, I think that, you know, men do as well, but I think often we end up cooking more younger and experiencing flavors more, so maybe it's a little easier because we're used to doing that early on than some men.
Yeah, I really believe so. I mean, I was very lucky, Emma, to be raised a lot with my grandparents and my grandmothers, and obviously my mother, who is a phenomenal wine taster. And I've always noticed that je ne sais quoi in those ladies that is going just purely beyond the analysis of a wine, but that spirituality, that emotion, that brings that additional talent to wine making, maybe, and wine tasting. And I see it with my sister as well, who's very good at it.
And your wife, who's quite talented at it as well, right?
Needless to say.
One of the attractions there.
Yes, no, you're very kind to say that. And I'm very pleased, you know, and I want to bring that to the forefront because we have a lot of friends today with us that are ladies that are in the wine world looking to grow, that are looking into getting into the wine world, and sometimes they're intimidated. And I think you're the perfect example to show that everything is possible.
Everything is possible. And I think I approach that with every single thing that I do, whether it's hauling myself out of bed early to go for a long run, or saying, I'm going to make that, I'm going to get that, I'm going to get there. And I just don't think about it not working.
That's right. So to that point, why don't you tell us about this amazing Saint-Supery Sauvignon Blanc? Because this is the estate you're running today. And maybe you give us a brief history of Saint-Supery and the wonderful family that you're working with today who owns it with you and the great energy you're bringing to this estate.
Well, I love this wine. It's one of my favorite wines that we make because it's just so easy to enjoy while you're cooking dinner for your family or having it with a great meal. And it's a signature wine for St. Supery, absolutely. And you know, the Scally family founded St. Supery in 1982 with the purchase of the Dollarhide Ranch, and your families go way back. And the Dollarhide Ranch is just, it's such a spectacular property. When Robert bought it, it was 1,535 plus acres, and it was completely undeveloped. And it's like this valley within Napa Valley. It's this gorgeous high elevation vineyard with rolling hills, 7 lakes, and you know, a lot of different soil types. And what we found over the years was that Sauvignon Blanc does extremely well there. And in 1985, Robert planted our first parcel of Sauvignon Blanc on Clone 5 rootstock, and it was Clone 1 Sauvignon Blanc, and it was from Joseph Phelps Vineyards gave us the Clone 1 Sauvignon Blanc wood, which is really just kind of a typical testament to Napa Valley on how we're always sharing things with each other here. But that parcel of Sauvignon Blanc, over 20 years ago, Michael Scholes, our winemaker, went through and was tasting the fruit, you know, as we do, as we get close to harvest. And he found some vines that were particularly expressive and vibrant. And he tagged those, and then he propagated 2 rows, then 2 acres. And now the majority of all the Sauvignon Blanc on our property is that field selection of Clone 1 that we've been propagating over and over for this vibrancy, this exuberance, this just burst of flavor and aromatics. I love this wine because it just kind of explodes.
I totally agree. It's a bomb of flavor. It's an explode. Does it remind you a good French kiss with even more herbaceous feel?
It does a little, it's got a juiciness to it, right? It's got that juiciness. It's mouth-watering. It's delicious, and it kind of keeps you coming back for more. It's very easy to have a second glass.
Well, you saw what I just did. And now, as we unwind, because there's so many topics to cover together in a short period of time, why don't we compare it briefly with this other amazing estate wine that you kindly offered to us to present today? Because I'm an enormous fan. And as you can all see, this is the Saint-Supery estate, Napa Valley, Sauvignon Blanc as well, which is something that you need to tell us all about, because 2 different flavor profiles.
Yeah, the Dollarhide Sauvignon Blanc is also 100% Sauvignon Blanc, but it's from that old parcel. And you know, old vines, whether they're Cabernet or Sauvignon Blanc, they have an integrity. They have a vibrancy. They have depth and experience. Kind of like us, as we get a few more years, we've got a little more depth and experience, and a little more vibrancy. And you know, we're not so shy anymore. And this wine, it has that great grapefruit aromatics. It's really fun and juicy, but it also has a tiny bit of barrel fermentation. So we do about 17% barrel fermentation in new French oak. We leave it 5 months on the lees in the barrel and in the tank, which we don't do with the estate Sauvignon Blanc that's all stainless steel fermented. And so it's got this heft in the palate. It's got this mid palate texture, that this extra weight that just kind of leaves a beautiful lingering flavor in your mouth, and also it gives it a broader range with food. You can bring this along to that truffle pasta or roasted chicken, and you know, you can sit and sip it, but you can also bring it along to a lot more.
Are you cooking tonight?
Flavors. I am cooking tonight.
I'm on my way over. So what makes such a financial wizard like you so good at wine making, tasting, and obviously talking about wine?
You know, I think if you enjoy what you're doing, then of course you enjoy talking about it, right? And I in school, I was always a little bit of a science geek, and I loved the science. I loved the winemaking classes, and I'm curious. And so I ask a lot of questions, which, you know, I obviously don't know as much as the winemaking team does, but I am curious, and I come at it from a different perspective. And I also have spent a lot of time tasting. You know, when I graduated from college, I joined an amazing tasting group in Berkeley that was very focused, and every other week we were tasting blind and tasting amazing wines, and that were in focused groups. And for me, that helped develop my palate a lot, particularly tasting blind in a thoughtful manner and listening to people who know more than I do, which is how I spend every day, listening to people who know more than I do and trying to, you know, apply things that I do know to that. And, you know, the language and the vocabulary starts to come when you taste regularly, and you're like, oh, I get that. I understand that. And then it becomes, of course, second nature when you start tasting a lot. You know, my parents are British, so I had to make up for a lot. I didn't have a French family.
Well, so, you know, what makes you actually, Emma, such a fabulous listener?
Oh, I don't know if I'm a fabulous listener, but
I think
I'm interested in things. I'm curious. I want to know how to make things better. And I think I'm always thinking about how can we do something new. And I'm not defeatist. I don't dismiss that I can't do it yet. I just say, well, why can't we?
That's right.
Until we can.
I love that attitude. So what makes you love Napa Valley so much? Because we have world audience tonight, and many friends are from many other regions. They may join Napa Valley, but why don't you tell us what makes you?
You know what, to me, Napa Valley, it's not just one of the most beautiful places on the planet. It is so gorgeous, and it's going to be gorgeous forever with the agricultural preserve we have, with how thoughtful everyone farms, with the Napa Green certification, Napa Winery certifications. You know, all of those things keep the community healthy, it keep the environment healthy, and it's a small place, right? We're a little tiny place, you know, 5 miles wide, 30 miles long. If we have a meeting, we can all get there in 15 minutes. We can all be together, and we have a common goal. We have a common goal of taking care of our community, of raising money for our community through Auction Napa Valley, of raising money everywhere we go. We raise money for a good cause. And we take care of each other. And it's times like this that's so important, and it really stands out, because in other places in the world, you know, people don't take care of each other like we do. I can walk down the street and see people I don't know and people I do know, but I do know that they're part of our community, and we're all going to take care of each other. And that's just what we do in Napa Valley.
Well, it's very true. And to that, I'm going to open Foreverness, because you represent Foreverness. I hope our friendship will be forever. Not that I hope, I know. And we have selected the emerald green, beautiful, precious stone for you.
I love that.
It comes all the way from Colombia via Swarovski, which we apply by hand on every bottle. And why we selected this wine is because it's a Napa Valley Chardonnay. And we'd love for you not only to describe it, but to tell us about all your great involvement in the community and why you're so phenomenally dynamic within the Napa Valley community. You've mentioned Napa Green, the vintners, the wine auction, and all of the above. So give us a little bit of that energy that you give so much to others.
Well, you know, I've always been passionate about healthcare and education. When I was in 4th grade, I loved to read. I was just a nerd, and I would go down to the library and I would read to other kids because I felt like it was so important to share this. And I volunteered. By the time I was in 6th grade, I was volunteering at the hospital. And as we see what happens in the world, the most important thing that you can do is continue to improve your education, no matter who you are, where you are, and to be healthy, and to frankly have control over your body, to be able to have birth control when you're in another country, and that enables you
Yes.
to further your education and take care of your family that you do have.
I'm with you.
And make great choices. So those are things that I'm passionate about, of supporting healthcare and education. And I'm also passionate about taking care of my neighbors, and that's kind of what we do with in Napa Valley. And I think the examples that Napa Learns has done during COVID to help people gain new skills for today's economy, and offering free classes to anyone in Napa Valley to learn coding, social media marketing, digital marketing, and all of these new skills, and design classes online. These are really important, and these are things that we do with auction money for our community. That and Ole Health. I mean, over $60 million to Ole Health. I mean, it's fantastic.
Amazing.
And if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
That's right.
Okay.
And Ole Health for everyone is here in Napa Valley. Everybody can go, whether you have insurance or not. You're being treated, right, Emma? And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And a lot of other countries offer that to their citizens, and here in Napa Valley, we offer that too.
Which is a country on its own, right? When are we declaring independence to California and the United States?
We're doing our best here in Napa Valley to take care of each other, and it's super important. But we carry that spirit where we go. If I'm in China, we're doing a charity event in China to help people there. Or if I'm in New York or Florida or Texas, it's part of the spirit of wine, and it's part of what we do. And I've got to say, this Chardonnay smells delicious.
Yes, well, it's to you and your charming husband, because talking about community, Wes, Emma's irresistible husband of how many years now?
26.
25th. So, it's almost the same celebration as this stone. Is very exciting, and he's a great veterinarian, dear friends, and they not only take care of humans, but as well four-legged animals and animals with feathers, and right, all of the above.
All of the above. So yes, he did specialize in exotic animals, but now for the last 20 plus years, he's worked in shelter medicine. So he helped shelters all over Northern California, and helped found the National Shelter Medicine Association and the shelter medicine program at UC Davis. So that's his passion today, and in taking care of the animals. And fortunately, I did on February 29th, right before the shutdown, get a new shelter dog, because we were without a dog for a little while there. So
very good.
We have a new rescue dog.
To the Humane Society as well, and all the people you help in that sense, which I know you're so active. So between you and him, what a couple for the community. We are blessed. So I'll toast to that.
I'll toast to that. I'll toast to you and this delicious Chardonnay.
So tell us what you think about this Chardonnay.
It's got just this really lovely layer of smoky oak, just kind of covering over the top, and just not overpowering, but just in this really seductive layer there, and very bright. And delicious texture, just lovely mouth-watering, and nice fresh acidity, and fresh pear, and fresh green golden apples. Just delicious. Delicious.
God, I want to drink more after your description. So Emma,
quite lovely.
You've mentioned Wes, and thank you for this great description. You've mentioned Wes' passion. What is your passion?
You know, every day is my passion. My passion is Napa Valley. It's getting up in the morning and seeing the sunrise. It's finding, a new challenge, solving another problem, making something better. I have a lot of things that I work on, and some that I'm not very good at all, but I keep working on them. And, I enjoy life.
And how do you advise to others to enjoy life, besides drinking more wine from Napa Valley?
Well, of course, more wine from Napa Valley is the way to go. I think that, you create your own happiness. If you're
Yes.
unhappy, the only person who can change that is you. And looking to yourself and being reflective, like, did I make a mistake? And saying, yes, I made a mistake. I could do better, right? And, you know, if I'm not progressing in my career, why aren't I progressing in my career? Am I
Yes.
working hard? Am I asking questions? Am I doing my best? Am I being my best today? And if if you're your best every day, then you should feel glad that and happy that you accomplished something. If you don't act yourself at your best,
Yes.
then you won't be happy, because you could do better. And when that person says you could do better, you know you should have done better.
That's right.
But also check the drama at the door. You know, don't hold everything close and painfully, because we're all in this world together. And sometimes I say, sometimes you say things that come out wrong or aren't at all what we meant. And so give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Just
Sure.
be kind.
And on that note, how do you actually, and I know you have enormous discipline in that area, and it's a great advice for all of us, how do you measure yourself and your progress? How do you have a checklist, or how do you do it?
How do I do it? Well, that's a good question. I I set goals for myself in different ways, you know, financial success for the company, people being promoted in the company, people having personal growth and success. I mean, right now we've got so many training programs going on to give people new skills while we're slower. I look at how, you know, am I doing better? Am I running? Am I faster? Is my French getting any better?
Toujours. C'est magnifique.
No. But, you know, I keep plugging away at those things, and I think, you know, every now and then I think, oh, my French is getting better, and then, oh, maybe it's not. But I keep working hard at it and trying to improve. You know, I say to Michael that, you know, our winemaking is like golf. We're looking for that perfect bottle of wine and that perfect wine every time we make it. And there's no perfect wine, but every time we, you know, grow a grape, bring it into the winery, we're trying to make a perfect bottle.
Yes.
And, you know, maybe to someone it'll be perfect one day, but it's the quest and the journey, right? And we can see that we're making things a little bit better every single time. So that's part of my.
Well, that's a great advice in many ways. You're telling us how you do it. So I'm pouring the next fabulous wines you so kindly gave us, and this is the magnificent, as you know,
Cabernet Sauvignon.
we're going right on the estate. And as you describe the wine, I'd love for you to tell us more about Napa Green and your commitment to this unbelievable direction that Napa Valley has committed to, that obviously we are at Raymond fully engaged in as well.
Absolutely. And it's so important. And I was very vocal with the Napa Valley vintners when we were doing our planning, that every vintner in Napa Valley who is eligible should be Napa Green certified. And we're super close to that goal. And this Rutherford Estate property was the first property that we had certified Napa Green land. We got both of our Napa Green land certifications in 2008 and 2010. And what I love about that certification is it's not just the vineyard, it's everything. And so when you think of a property like Dollarhide, where we have 1,000 acres that aren't developed to vineyard, that 1,000 acres we're taking care of for future generations. We're making sure we don't have runoff into the creek, which is particularly important in a year like this, where we're going to have some, you know, issues when it starts raining and there's less grass and things holding the soil in. We need to be thoughtful and making sure we don't have more runoff into the creek and more silt, and we're maintaining our rivers and everything at its highest level. And so that's one of my favorite things about Napa Green. And my other favorite thing about Napa Green is it requires continuous improvement. So in the vineyard, we have to get certified every 5 years. And so every 5 years we get recertified, and we have to achieve new goals, and we have to continuously improve. So it's not just me saying we need to continuously improve, it's the Napa Green certification. And at the winery, which is in Rutherford, where we make this wine, you know, all of our wines are state grown, produced, and bottled, and they're all 100% certified Napa Green and land and winery. And so this is really special because your family sold it to the Scallies in 1985. And Robert Scally redeveloped the vineyard and built the winery there. But it's another nice connection that we have, that your family had that property as well. And it's a very special place right there on Highway 29. And the wines have a beautiful texture.
Yeah.
I think that the texture of these wines is so lovely. It's that just fine grain tannin, that just really long, sexy finish. I think of like our Dollarhead Cabernet is a bold, structured, forceful wine, and this wine is just, it's so sexy, just sort of opposite each other, right? It's our masculine and
well, let's do the tasting as you're talking about it. I cannot resist, Emma, because we have a few more phenomenal questions for you, but you know, as you enticing us of the sexiness of the wine. By the way, I need to commend you. I love your dress.
Oh,
I can not see how low it goes or how high it is, but you have beautiful legs. So in any case, whichever way it goes, it's perfectly worn.
Well, thank you. I had to have some color for you. I know you need bold, bright color when I'm with you, Jean-Charles. But no, I love these wines, and you know, to the Napa Green certification for the winery, you know, we recertify that every 3 years, and you have huge amount of solar panels on your Raymond vineyard. I mean, are you 100% powered there now? You sure look like you've got a lot of power.
Well, we went crazy because, as you know, our commitment to organic and biodynamic as well. So not only we are Napa Green with that, but we are, of course, fully organic and fully biodynamically certified. So we've believed in this forever. And I don't think you've ever met my irresistible grandmother, who instilled that in my sister and I since the age of 7 or 10, because she was an organic gardener, and even using her pendulum to bring energy to her plants and her vegetables and her orchard. So we continued on that path. So everything we touch as far as having land pretty much has to be organic, even in the Jura, in that very tough Savoie region of France, and even in the south, which is very easy of France, we've moved everything to organic. So we are with you 100% on this. Yeah. But isn't it key when we look at what's happening? Don't you agree that a lot of what Mother Nature is provoking these days, if she is, it's a give back to what we're not doing right. And I think we need to be greater steward of the land.
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes people say that, you know, oh, you can't do enough, you know, there's still other countries that aren't following things, you know, why even try? And that's so defeatist, right?
That's right.
Even if you don't believe what you're doing isn't making a big enough difference, if everyone makes a little bit of difference, then we'll have clean air and clean water. And, you know, maybe that's not changing the climate, but I'd rather drink clean water and breathe clean air. And, you know, so we can disagree on a lot of things, but, you know, if we do the right thing, it's harder. It's always harder to do the right thing, but you got to do that. Right?
It's a great advice. And it's very true. It's often harder, but at the end, the outcome is so much better than it's worth it. So you've told us about your passion. What inspires Emma Swain?
You know, I
besides a sexy husband and obviously great people around you.
Yeah, I don't want to tell too much of that. They may come steal them from me, you know. He's kind of amazing, that guy. And, you know.
And, you know, he's one of the only one who could charm animals as well. So
Absolutely.
this is good to be loved by all.
You know, he always has great faith in me. It's quite remarkable. I'm sort of going along. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try and get this done. I'm gonna go for it, or whatever it is that I am doing, whether it's running a marathon or selling a company. You know, he's always like, yeah, you can do that. And I'm like, okay, here I go.
But
And
that's great
you
to have the
need that
support.
support from your spouse, right? You need somebody else other than yourself saying, okay, I'm gonna do it, and being successful. So absolutely, that inspiration from him every day is just pretty wonderful. And also just the you know, the chill of being able to come home and just breathe and relax, and come back to Napa Valley after a big trip, and be home in this beautiful place. Because, you know, we both travel to a lot of beautiful places in the world, but when I come back to Napa Valley, I know I'm home, and that's my friends, my family, and this beautiful place that we come back to. And every day I get up, I'm inspired. You know, I get up early. I like to watch the sunrise, and that's what I need to get my day going.
So if we get up at 4:30, we know Emma is already up on her treadmill or running in the woods and getting some exercise, right?
Yeah, because that's I need that. You do
That was
too. I
that
know you do.
beautiful, Oat Living article when you outline your schedule. And I love it. And I think we should post it for everyone because
Oh no.
you start way earlier than I can. I may go to bed a little later than you do,
I
but
know
you're
you do.
up with the birds. So now, Emma, what you've presented those amazing wines, and I really want to thank you for presenting both because Dollar Hyde Cabernets as well, incredible. Maybe one word on it as well, and we went purposely, Rutherford because this is such an anchor. And it's interesting, and maybe you have something to say about it. It seems to have attracted since the early 1900s the French. Being French, I've always loved Rutherford beyond everything else. And we've bought a lot of vineyards in Rutherford. I'm a huge fan. Why is that? That Rutherford really, from Bordeaux people, Burgundy people, to Loire people, to in general, people are very seduced by it. How do you explain it?
I think it's the elegance. I think it's the beautiful fine grain tannins that we get. And I also think that Rutherford is a beautiful spot for Cabernet Franc and Merlot. I think some of the best Cabernet Franc and Merlot in Napa Valley is grown in Rutherford. And when you think of Bordeaux, I often think of Saint-Emilion. And I think of Merlot and Cabernet Franc. And there's, of course, a little bit of each of those in with this Cabernet Sauvignon from the same vineyard, the single vineyard wine. And I think that they bring nuanced layers of aromatics. I love that little bit of floral, that hint of pretty green that you get from the Cabernet Franc, and that plumpness that we get from the Merlot. And we often don't think of those as varietals from France, but those are big varietals that we're drinking elegant, great wines from France, from those varietals. And I think that's part of the attraction, and just the elegance that we get with those super fine grain tannins. Because Dollar Hyde to me is much more that California style.
Yes.
It's a rugged, scaly soil, very little topsoil, very high elevation. The vines are working very hard to put out a little bit of fruit, self-limiting to, around 2 tons an acre on these old vines. And, this is 100% Cabernet Sauvignon from our oldest vines on the property. And those vines.
And how old are the vines? 40 years, 45, 35?
About 35. So 1982 to 1985.
So Emma, what is your dream?
What is my dream?
Uh-huh.
Every day
Besides you and I,
living the dream.
Besides you and I in a Parisian restaurant, tete-a-tete, of course. Which that is a dream we can make happen, as you know.
We can make that happen. I have a lot of dreams, and every day I live one of them, or I move towards another one. One that I haven't made a lot of progress on in a long time is I do want to go diving in blue holes. That's one of my long-term goals is scuba diving in blue holes. And so a trip to Belize is probably in my future, but that's, you know, a long-term dream that I haven't made a lot of progress on, but the rest of them I'm making a little progress here and there. You know, I enjoy everything I do, and I don't really have a bucket list, but I have a lot of things that I want to spend more time doing when I travel. But when I go, you know, if I am going to Australia or if I'm going to France, I never treat that trip as if it's my only trip and I need to see everything. I always go with, I'm just going to enjoy this like I live here.
Yes.
I just want to experience the life in this new place. And it doesn't have to be that I go to the top of the Eiffel Tower, although that's fun. But, you know,
that's where you want the tete-a-tete dinner to be. I'll make it happen.
There we go. But, you know, it's just enjoying who you're with, meeting new people, being with friends, drinking great wine, enjoying a simple pasta. You know, all of those things are part of living the dream every day.
So you're living the dream pretty much every day.
Living the dream.
So on that note, the last big statement, you know, you're a huge inspiration. You a phenomenal, so talented figure in the wine world, and you take Napa Valley always and every day to the next level. We've been going over 7 months of natural difficult time for all of us, irrelevant of where we're from. We could be from India to Africa to Europe to the Americas. It has not been easy. What message in general would you like to leave to everyone that has been with us and to everybody at large?
This too shall pass. You know, there's a lot of joy to be found every single day during COVID. You know, my bread baking has improved. I've always been a big baker. My creativity in the kitchen's improved. I've gotten to bond with my new dog. My husband's not sick of me yet, and I've been home more than ever. I've gotten to engage with wonderful people online that I wouldn't have had a chance to meet. No matter how many trips I do around the world, meeting fantastic people everywhere I go, I've met more people online and had wonderful conversations with them about wine, about food, about how they're coping. And, you know, there's a silver lining to everything that's happening, right? And life is going to be, it's going to be great. It may not be the same again, but there's a lot of joy to be found just by opening your front door, going in your backyard, petting the dog, making a great pasta, picking a vegetable, looking at the sunset, and remembering that we're all very lucky. You know, we're all very lucky. We're alive, we're healthy, and we can make our own happiness.
Emma, it's so well said. You bring goosebumps and excitement with that natural optimism that you have and that twinkle in your eyes that makes us want to do things. And I really want to thank you, Emma, for having spent the last 50 minutes together. It was so much fun.
Nice to see you. I haven't seen enough of you. This is my big virtual hug.
No, I know. Well, you know, I will not stop just kissing your cheeks and more in your forehead as we see each other. And I really want to thank you so much, Emma, for being who you are, as pure, authentic, natural, and this driving force in Napa Valley that is making this place a better place. And, you know, not only being inspirational to women, but of course, men. Love your perspective today on women as well, and Napa Valley and our communities and everything you do for the world of fine wine, but even more importantly than anything, being a great inspiration. So, Emma.
Well, you're my hero, Jean-Charles. You really are.
To our mutual love, to the 3rd floor of the Eiffel Tower, you're going to have to promise me now a tete-a-tete together. And Wes and Gina will be on the 2nd floor, and then we will all get together on the ground floor to party in Paris. Is it a deal?
It's a deal. Thank you so much for having me, Jean-Charles. Cheers.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.